All right, greetings, and I love all of you. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Judson Powell, and I'd like for you to hit the thumbs up button or subscribe to my channel if you would, please. All right, so I can continue to do these videos. Anyway, I want to talk about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, that's what we're talking about today, and I have some very strong opinions about her, and many of them, of course, are met with opposition, but then again, you have to know that I'm not really concerned with that because I work for myself and I don't have a network or anything like that telling me what I can and cannot say about certain people. But here, this is my problem with Kamala Harris. First of all, the number one thing is that she's a hypocrite, and I don't like hypocrites. And I try not to be a hypocrite myself. I know that in life, there are always certain situations where you're going to eventually, at some point, you're going to change your mind and people are going to call you a hypocrite or whatever. And that's different from what I'm about to explain right now. Her history as a prosecutor and as the attorney general in the state of California shows that she was about locking up black folks. And the reason why I put a post up saying on my Facebook saying basically that if you say that I'm going to be tough on crime, being tough on crime, that means that you're going to lock black people up. And so the people that supported you on your crusade to be tough on crime, those are the people that support you, and those are the people that eventually you got to please, because if you dance to the music, you got to pay the piper. And the bottom line is that she danced to the music and she's got to pay the piper. And so the constituencies and the affiliations that she's made during her time running for office, she has been basically a conservative. She may have been a Democrat, or I guess we could call her a moderate or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how all the terminology works or how people end up being certain things. But one thing that I do know for sure is that if you ran on a platform where you were tough on crime, all that is if anybody remembers Ronald Reagan, since the Reagan administration, that was always it. Willie Horton, the whole 9 yards, when all that stuff went down, we can't let these people out of jail. We can't, we got to lock more of them up. And then, of course, as time went on, we went through Clinton and all of that. And then once we got through Clinton, when we got to Clinton, then all of a sudden we got mandatory minimums. We got 3 strikes laws. We got all of these things. We got privatized jails and privatized prisons. And all it did was lock up black folks. Now, I was told that because I was never a prosecutor and I didn't study hard enough in criminal law or criminal procedure, that I didn't know what was going on. But let me explain something to you. She was locking up kids and she was locking up their mothers. All right. And basically what she was doing is she was forming the funnel into the prison, into the school to prison pipeline. That's all she was doing. She's no different from any other person. And so, yeah, I as bad as anyone, want to see Donald Trump out of office. I don't like Donald Trump. I don't think he's good for this country. I never have, and I never will. And I want somebody to beat him in the election. But guess what? She's not the one that we need in there, because she ain't got our best interest on her side. All right? She is not thinking about your best interest. And here's what I'm saying. If you're going to start locking up, and everybody's like, well, truancy is illegal, but they don't understand the systemic things that are coming from what is systemic racism, because they're not going to go out into the suburbs and lock white kids up. They're not going to go to the suburbs and go to the places where white folks stay and lock them up. They're not going to do it, because I guarantee you, if you start locking up little white kids, or if you start jailing little white kids and jailing their soccer moms and all of that kind of stuff, it ain't gonna go down like that. And it's not either. And she knows it's not either. So what do? Once again, they unfairly target black folks. And the other thing is, half of the systemic reasons behind the reason why there's truancy is because they ain't getting nothing at school. They ain't got nothing to go to school for. They have no reason to be there, especially when they're struggling with other things that are in their lives. So, but yet still, let's look at this too. Let's look at the fact that most of the stuff that happens to the disenfranchised and the poor it's because that somebody at the top is making money off of them. So all of those people that end up incarcerated because of truancy or whatever you want to say, who gets the money from that? Who gets paid from that? Okay, so I go through the hood. You know, a lot of those kids, they're at home taking care of their siblings and stuff like that, so their mother can go out and work and make money to support the family. Why? Because they live in single parent families, and on top of that, if a man is present in the house, you know, somebody who could actually help pay the bills, guess what? They got to get out, because that's the system. There's, you know, and then everybody go, what's wrong with them? Well, if you've never been in that situation, then you can't really talk about it, you know. And, you know, a lot of things are illegal, you know, but then look at this. Throughout history, slavery was legal, you know, Jim Crow was legal, you know, half of the things that go on right now, and just like right now, they're legalizing, you know, marijuana all over the country. They're making billions of dollars off of marijuana, and yet still, you know, I mean, some, don't get me wrong, there are some states that have expunged the records and have let people out of jail, but then look at all the other people. There's still people in jail over marijuana. There's still people, you know, suffering because of things like that. So being a good prosecutor, or being you know, oh, well, I was just doing my job. Okay, but change the system. If you have an opportunity to change the system from within inside, the best place to change the system is inside the system. You got to start telling these people, look, we're not going to lock up these people for this reason. And then what do they have now? They have what? They have a record. So if something does go wrong with them in the future, the first thing that the prosecutor is going to say, well, he never went to school. He's, you know, he's treacherous. He's dangerous. He's evil. He's maniacal. He's diabolical. We got to lock him up. So now what? He's just in the school to prison pipeline. That's all he is. They're going to take that kid, or take that, you know, or take that parent, and from that point on, all they are is they're a target. You're not doing nothing to help them or rehabilitate them or tell them why they need to go to school, or give them a pathway that's going to help them if they do go to school. That's what needs to be done. Locking people up ain't never solved nothing, because what? People, look, they got all kinds of penalties for everything out here, right? But what does it stop? It doesn't stop anything. It's not a detriment to crime. It doesn't deter crime at all. What it does is it just gives you a reason to lock somebody up. And we all know the system is rigged. If you got money and you got white skin, guess what? 9 times out of 10, you won't go to jail. I think O.J. Simpson might have been the only black man that ever got away with murder. And you can best believe, if he didn't have all the money that he had, and he wasn't as famous and as popular as he was, he would have went to jail too. And then they found another way to get him in jail. You know, when they said that he stole back his own stuff, which I don't even believe that. But, you know, we gonna roll with it, and we gonna roll with their theory and roll with their whole thing. But what I'm saying is, if they're out to get you, they're out to get you. And all these young guys, all they do, you know, and now they starting to do it to the girls too, all they do is they stay in and out, in and out, in and out the system. And it starts off with going there the first time. Then after they see you down there once, then they start looking for you. See, they not on the streets in the suburbs looking for delinquents. They not on the street in rich areas and neighborhoods where people got money and status and all of that. They not on those streets looking for people. They riding around through the hood trying to see a little kid who's going to the store for his mama so he can feed his little brother or little sister or whatever. That's what's going on. And so to sit up there and tell me it's just, you know, they just doing their job. You know, I had somebody on Facebook tell me that, oh, they're just doing their job. They not just doing their job. Their job is to lock up young black, brown, and yellow folks. That's their job. And until we come to grips with that, and we come to the truth of that, then it's not going to never change. It's going to stay the same for a long time. And everybody keeps saying about, you know, okay, and then all these people running for president. But look, if you're not going to change anything, you know, and for that matter, you know, if you're not going to do something to better the system or to change the system, and all you're going to do is keep the status quo of the system, then, you know, what good are you? And I'm not going to vote for somebody like that. That's why I would never vote for Kamala Harris. I would never vote for her, because if she gets in office, it'll be just like anybody else. And I don't necessarily trust Democrats or Republicans. I don't trust none of them, you know. And I mean, and I'm not going to say who I would vote for or who I, you know, but the bottom line is I wouldn't vote for her, because she's already shown me that she's not on our side. I don't know whose side she's on, but it ain't our side. So that's all I'm trying to say. You gotta, from now on, when we vote for people, as African descendants of slaves, you gotta understand. You got to understand that everybody that we vote for, we too smart for that. Stop falling for the okie dokie. She had a good showing at the debate, and so now everybody thinks we should vote for her. Y'all, stop falling for the amusement, music, all of those things. That's what black people fall for. Rhyming, song and dance, all of that kind of stuff, because it's in our nature, so we fall for that stuff. But it's not always the best thing. Emotion, she really, but that emotion is not what we need right now. What we need right now is people that are serious, people that are seriously trying to change our circumstances. Because until we get somebody that's seriously looking out to change our circumstances, ain't nothing. We got the reparations issue on the table. We got all these issues on the table. We got to figure that stuff out. And the other thing is, she is a sitting senator right now. What legislation are you introducing? You need to be introducing that reparations legislation. You need to be writing laws and doing what you're supposed to do. That's your job. Write the law. Write the reparations law. And then maybe I got something to vote for you for. But right now, all the black politicians on Capitol Hill, they ain't doing nothing. They all posing, trying to, they think because Barack Obama got elected, now everybody think they can be president. I'm glad that they had that in their mind where they think that everybody can be president. I'm glad. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. But on top of that, you got to understand that no matter what they think, if they're not trying to do something to change the condition of the descendants of Africa in this country, then I'm not going to vote for you. I'm sorry, and I urge everybody else who is a descendant of an African to not vote for them, because we're all descendants of Africans, and everybody running around here or this, that, and the other thing. But the bottom line is, we are an African people, just like the Pan-African movement used to say. We are an African people. Our ancestors came from Africa. They suffered through slavery and all of that. And the other thing is, I'm not trying to hate or anything like that, but Kamala Harris is not ADO. She's not an African descendant of slaves. She's not. She's not. And then to sit up there, and then the final thing I want to say is that little picture that she threw around, talking how she got bussed and all that. Ladies and gentlemen, busing is the result of black people. Busing is not the result of white people. White people never wanted busing. Black people wanted busing, and now we're mad because we got it. That was the operation that the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and liberal Democrats pushed through, so that they would have something to say, because they said that the school systems were unequal. But there were a ton of black people out there that said, forget having equal schools and all that kind of stuff, because what they wanted to enter, that was our thing for integration. That was Brown v. Board of Education. So we wanted to integrate. That was our deal. We didn't force that on white people. I mean, white people didn't force that on us. We forced that on white people. So it was the other way around. We forced that on white people. So that was that was the solution to the problem that we posed to the government. And if we did it for that, we should do it again. Okay, so now let's pose the argument for reparations. What is the argument for reparations? And then what is the solution? What is the thing that we need to do to get these reparations? But to sit up here and just because somebody had a good debate or whatever, and they ain't really trying to do nothing, I'm telling you, none of these people in the Congressional Black Caucus are doing nothing. They're not doing a single solitary thing for black people. They haven't posed no legislation, anti-lynching laws. I think that's what they posed, but that ain't nothing. We know lynching is already illegal, but they still do it, don't they? I'm just trying to say, get a law going that we need, like the reparations law, like, how we should be determined to be human beings in this bad boy. That's what we need. We don't need somebody else rah rah rah. And just because somebody wears a suit or a dress or whatever, and they look good and they're articulate, that don't do nothing. We need some people up there that are going to take action. And that's what Kamala Harris is not. Bye-bye.